pretty hilarious stories, but also some pretty wonderful stories to tell. And when I think about my favorite Kindl moments, I have a lot. And it's very hard to choose. But I have to say that some classic Kindl moments include a unitard, a tiara, and a feather boa. Also a round rolling brush in her bangs. Also some coffee table dancing, always. But I have to say that I really don't think, honestly, Scott, that any guy ever stood a chance before you. And I'm gonna cry, and my dad's filming me. But in all seriousness, I feel like we kind of joke about it, and Kindl likes to use the phrase. She'll say to me, "WWKD, Sarah, what would Kindl do?" And in the past, WWKD has been sort of like my inspiration when I need a spark of adventure or excitement in my life, because that's what Kindl's brought to my life. But I have to say that I think since meeting Scott, when I think about WWKD, what would Kindl do? I think about being patient and finding someone who truly she's in love with, and someone who loves her, okay, now I'm going to cry, as much as her father loves her. And I know that that's something that Kindl and I share, is a love of our dad. And we've been through a lot together. We still send emails to each other, and we sign them, love your roommate, because I think we're always going to be roommates with each other. But here's to your new roommate, and I just want to tell a quick story about something Kindl said to me, I think 2 weeks ago on the phone, and that was, she said, I think the best decision I've ever made is marrying Scott. And I just thought that, like, touched me. So Kindl and Scott, your new roommate. Cheers. Thank you. Whew, okay. Good job. Oh, that was going to be funnier, but it's
Hi everyone, my name's Julie Weary. I am one of Kindl's bridesmaids and was a roommate with Kindl at UNC. I'm going to keep mine short and sweet because I'm very pregnant and very hormonal, and I'm going to start crying. Yay, Julie! But when I was thinking about what to say about Kindl, to kind of summarize the phenomenal woman that she is, 3 things stood out to me. One was, as much as she tries to downplay it, Kindl is incredibly intelligent. And she uses the southern drawl and the blonde hair to try and pretend that she's not ridiculously smart. And anyone who's gotten in a political debate with her probably knows this and knows how incredibly intelligent she is. The second thing I think about when I think of Kindl is not only her passion, but the word I think I used to describe her as an advocate. For people she doesn't know, who need her to be an advocate for her, an advocate as a friend, and just someone who is always there to advocate for people who need it. And then the third thing about Kindl that I think everyone here knows is how much she loves her family and how much she treasures them. And so, Scott, congratulations on being a part of that family and knowing what a wonderful wife and mother to your children.
Her roommates from senior year. Thank you so much to the Detars for having us here tonight. Kindl and I got to know each other, I think, through the Moorhead program. And by way of background, there was a tradition at the Moorhead, with the Moorhead Foundation, that every year they have a fall banquet. And every year the entertainment at the fall banquet is the seniors get up and do a little skit. Well, traditionally this skit has been sort of last minute, they get a keg of beer before the event, they throw together something, they do 5 minutes of semi-funny jokes, and the night goes on. Well, our senior year, we were all getting settled at our house. The banquet was weeks away, and Kindl very seriously sat me down and said, while I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro last summer, I had a lot of time to think. And I think that our skit for the foundation needs to be a musical.
What do we call it? Moorhead! Exclamation point.
Yes, Moorhead! Exclamation point. And I didn't know Kindl then like I know Kindl now. So I thought to myself, well, that's a lovely idea, but I mean, she's not going to, pull that off. Well, those of you who do know Kindl know how this story ends, and it is with a multi-act, fully choreographed, multi-song, costumed, musical extravaganza. And afterwards, the director of the foundation, who for some reason thought I had something to do with it, said, well, we've never had one like that before. And I said, well, you've never had a director, producer, artistic choreographer, artistic director, and costume designer like Kindl Shin before. And he said, no, I suppose we haven't. So then I sort of got broken into Kindl's ways as we lived together. And I guess around about early September, she said, well, it's time to start thinking about our Halloween costumes. Where I'm from, we don't start thinking about Halloween costumes 2 months in advance. But Kindl had come home from a weekend in Concord, and she said that this year we needed to be the calendar girls. And so there were going to be 12 of us, and we were each going to be a month. And she hoped we didn't mind, but she was going to go ahead and be Miss December because her mom needed to start sewing the costume. Merry Christmas. And Kindl was Miss December. And sure enough, when Halloween rolled around, there were 12 girls, sashes, costumes, a song, a dance move. 12 people who otherwise would not have spent the evening together, and we were the calendar girls. And I could talk a lot about all of the qualities that Kindl has that I appreciate in a friend. But one of them that I most value among all of them is her ability to make everything just a little bit of a production. And the fact that when Kindl is around, there is no such thing as an everyday event. Everything is special and everything is worth some sequins, some choreography. But she finds a way to make everything special, and those of us who have been along for the ride have appreciated every bit of it. Scott, we are so glad that you and Kindl found each other. I'm sure you are well aware of the productions to come. But we are glad that we will be along to see all that y'all have in store. So cheers. Cheers.
You got 2 minutes.
I'm nervous. This is, other than my sister's wedding, I think this is the wedding that I've most sort of anticipated and been kind of emotional about. God, bad time to start crying at the beginning. But Kindl and I met, when I met Kindl, she was wearing a yellow twin set. And we were in a conversation at Moorhead Finals weekends with a bunch of people who were just like so high on our illustrious high school accomplishments. And Kindl took them all to task in like this killer one-liner. She just, she was like, and it was the beginning of, and it was just like one little quip that said to me, like, this is a girl who really knows who she is. And at that time, my understanding of Southern women was based entirely on Scarlett O'Hara. And Kindl did not disappoint. I was like, I called my mom that night. It was like the Friday of finals weekend. And I said, Mom, I think I met a Southern belle. So then I went to college, and I knew instantly Kindl and I would be friends. I think I was as interested in her southernness as she was in my northernness. And very soon, we were getting a lot of mileage on that kind of opposites attract friendship. We were like, you want a Betty? We got a Betty. You want a Veronica? We have a Veronica. And we had a lot of fun with that. And throughout college, like, I remember a lot of Kindl's fabulous one-liners. One I will never forget is, if you can zip it, it ain't too tight. And the other one that I always will remember is after any breakup, Kindl would always say, well, we could always kill him. And that has given me great comfort over many years. Because it's true. If all else fails, we could always kill him. But also, it has to be said, as the other girls have said, you know, it's rare that you meet someone who is a real individual. And by that I mean somebody who is unlike anyone you've ever met. And Kindl is such a person. There is nobody like Kindl. And I mean, she doesn't do anything like anybody else. And I mean anything. So like, some of us were Moorhead scholars, and we'd get this check at the beginning of the year, and we would do whatever we did with it. And sophomore year, we were about to go out one night, and Kindl goes into her closet, and she grabs some cash out of her boot. And I'm like, what are you doing? Kindl had cashed her entire Moorhead stipend and was hoarding it in cash in her boots in her closet. I've never had cash. Because she was like, it's too much trouble to go to the ATM. No, this is why wouldn't I just have my boot bank account? And then after, and I mean, that was funny, but in other ways, you know, when Kindl decided to host a fundraiser for the whole school, it was Night of the Divas, and she raised money like there's never been raised at school for a cause that is hard to talk about and pretty awesome, which was the Advocates for Sexual Assault Prevention. It was really cool, and she made it something that went from being something people shied away from at a campus to the biggest fundraiser, I mean a really, really big UNC fundraiser, and it continues today. And then after college, when Kindl went to Germany on a Fulbright teaching scholarship, I went to visit her, and we were walking around this tiny town of Koblenz, and Kindl is like the toast of the town. I mean, everywhere we go, people know Kindl, and I'm like, what is she doing? Like, what is it? Well, it turned out she was Koblenz's first cheerleading instructor. She was teaching cheerleading, which is amazing. I think, yeah, she won. Koblenz is now the best cheerleader. Yeah. So it's always good to have Kindl's touch on anything, and I think that's something we've always said. But for me, as a lot of people have said, Kindl's love for her family is the most special, precious thing about her. And tonight, I don't know how many of you have heard, but she's wearing a dress that her grandma wore to get married in. Kindl's very sentimental. And she had talked so much about Mama that by the time I met her, I felt like it was like one of the most exciting meetings of my life. I was meeting this celebrity, and I went in there, and she was sitting there very alert. She had her newspaper. She was, you know, just dressed, everything. And she said, now, Marty, where are you from? And I said, Seattle. And she had this wonderful dramatic pause, and she said, now that's a far piece. And I thought in that moment, well, now I know where Kindl gets her one-liner. This is it. So what I hope for my friend Kindl is that you never, ever change. And what I love about Scott is that you found someone who you can truly be yourself around and who truly appreciates you. So, to Kindl being Kindl and Scott being Scott.